Hey folks, welcome to the Wealth Transfer with TC. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a quick update going into the weekend and also going into next week. Next week we have 3 dates that are going to have a profound impact on the stock market and the cryptocurrency market, so I want people to be prepared, especially if they are buying into the dip. Now, first, before I get into that, folks, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing information, giving you my thoughts and my opinions on that information. So if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the About section of YouTube. All right, folks, so next week we have the Federal Reserve meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 26th and the 27th. And that's when they're going to tell us whether or not if they're going to raise the rates 75 or 100 basis points. Now, some of this stuff is supposed to be factored into the markets, but at the same time, I'm not really seeing that so much compared to what's been happening like most of the Federal Reserve meetings. So there is going to be some red, especially come on Monday. But I think what most people fear is what's going to be happening on Thursday the 28th, and that's the GDP numbers, the gross domestic product. And that's going to determine whether or not if we are in a recession. All right, so I know there's going to be some pain probably in both markets as far as concerning this wealth transfer, God's wealth transfer. You know, everybody should be ready. Everybody should be in position. We've discussed the different seeds like Luna and the Bitcoin buy limit orders. We've discussed a number of prophetic cryptocurrencies and stocks. And, you know, we've been at this for a long period of time. Now, if you're just getting into this, that's different. But for most people, they should already be ready. If you've been in this for months, there's a lot of things that you should know already. And when things start to happen, if you're not in position, you're going to end up getting left behind. So everybody at this point pretty much should be ready. And one of the things that I've noticed, because folks, I don't share every single dream or vision on this channel. I used to share a lot more information. But what I've been finding out, there's a lot of conflicting information on whether it's dreams, visions, or prophetic words. There's a lot of clashing. And it's very confusing for a lot of people. And so it's one of the reasons why I stopped doing a certain format, was because people were starting to get confused. Of course, there were people that had a bunch of false prophetic words. So I've had to make some adjustments. And that's one of the reasons why I keep saying that we're going to take this thing day by day. Come across dreams and visions concerning many different things within the markets, right? Especially the crypto markets. Some of them have dates and time periods attached to them. And I've never showed them because I never felt comfortable sharing a lot of those. And you will see those dates come and go, and then with nothing happening. So I have been very selective. I've been very careful on sharing certain things. If I share too much, people get really confused. And God is not the author of confusion. There's a lot of information I don't share, and if I was to share, you guys would be scratching your heads every single day trying to figure out some type of timeline. And I think that especially like when it comes to, like, say, for instance, as an example, Luna Classic, you know, and there's pretty much a consensus around the 10-cent mark. That's when most people are going to be selling off at that point. And so, but we also do have prophetic words concerning before that point. Now, for most people are investors and they're not traders. So given that, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing the things the way that I'm doing. Because most people are investors and they're waiting for that one moment to sell. So we have about 8 days left in July. I'm still looking for certain things to happen, and all of that remains to be seen. Many of you are like myself. You've been in this for a long time. You've been waiting for these different opportunities. And yes, for me, I've tried to take the step forward and, you know, create my own wealth transfers before the actual wealth transfers actually happen. And that's why I made the transition from being an investor into being a trader. So I don't necessarily have to wait on these big moments, but I know most of you are waiting on these major shifts and major moments within the wealth transfer. And so for me, even waiting on some of these major shifts, you know, it has been frustrating. It has been tiring. And there's a lot of you who have been waiting for the longest time, and you're tired too as well. But I think that our waiting is almost over. And especially when it comes to these markets, you know, we got to get through next week. I think next week is going to be very important. as far as getting out of this rut and waiting for this next bull run. Now, when this happens, folks, and this is one thing that you have to learn how to do, and that's to be comfortable selling off what you have and not being afraid. Because how many people did not sell off in November when crypto prices were at its peaks, right? So this time around, things are going to be a little bit different, because if you hold on, you're going to go through the same cycle that we just went through, or that we are currently going through right now. All right, so I just want to talk a little bit about the stock markets. You saw the Dow was down 137 points. I actually thought it was going to be down a lot more as it got closer to the end of the trading day, but it did rebound some. The S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell 2000, they were down a little bit too as well. Now, when it comes to the stock market, one of the major stocks that I want to talk about is AMC. In the after hours, it actually closed out at $15.36. The previous day, on Thursday, it closed at $17. Right, so a lot of us were most definitely excited. Now, of course, going into the weekend, you're going to have your day traders, but you also have the people that are trying to be cautious for next week. Right, when we have the Federal Reserve meeting and the GDP numbers, they all come out next week. I don't know where AMC is going to go and how low it might go from where it's at right now, because I do expect the entire markets to be hit, but I don't expect too many people who are holding on to AMC are going to sell. It's going to be mostly institutions that are holding, or people that are swing trading AMC. But I want to go back to this wealth transfer dealing with the AMC stock. And we talked about the shorts and the shorting and the naked shorting for the longest time dealing with AMC. If you remember, going back to Adam Aaron, where he talked about pouncing on the shorts. I discussed this particular tweet. I'm going to go over it again because we are getting closer to that time period, and there's some other information that goes along with this. And Adam Aaron said, I keep getting asked when pounce. Know this, number one, I always keep my word. Number two, I've said publicly a pounce would not happen before second quarter 2022 earnings are announced. Press release issued today that quarter two earnings to be announced on Thursday, August the 4th. Read between those lines. So previously he talked about pouncing on the shorts, right? And that there was going to be a time period when that's going to happen. But he said it wouldn't happen before the second quarter 2022 earnings. Now, everybody's been going to the movies. The movie theaters have been packed. There has been a pretty good and decent lineup of the movies at the movie theaters. We're already expecting record numbers for the earnings that comes on August the 4th. So I don't know what other information he's going to be giving besides the earnings. AMC might have some really important announcements coming up along with these earnings. Let's talk about the fails to deliver. And there's 2 weeks of fails to deliver that are coming that are going to be very important. And if you look here on the FinTel report, we have over 1 million fails to deliver 7 trading days in a row. And you can see at what price some of these failed. Like on the 22nd at $12.50 for 1.1. The 24th, $12.05 for 1.2 million. $12.47 at 2.8 million. And here's a big one, $14.13 at 9.69 million. And you can see where the price is currently now at $15.50. And so technically they have 35 days to cover their fails to deliver. So I put together my calendar, and if you remember, August the 4th is the day that the earnings are announced. So next week, there is a number of fails to deliver that has to be covered. On the 26th of July, 857,000. On the 27th, 1.158 million. On the 28th, 1.28 million. On that Friday, 1.2 million. The week of the earnings report, there's a number of fails to deliver, and they'll probably try to do everything they can to create more fails to deliver. Who knows how all that's going to work out? But there's a lot of people that are watching these fails to deliver because, compared to other stocks, AMC is one of those that has way too many fails to deliver. So starting the week of the earnings report, which is the 4th on Thursday. We have 2.89 million on that Monday. On that Tuesday, we have 9.69 million fails to deliver that have to be covered. That Wednesday before the announcement of the earnings, another 2.8 million. And on the day of, we have another 1.9 million. And then we also have the earnings that day too as well. I don't have the fails to deliver numbers for that Friday afterwards. So all these fails to deliver here have to be covered between July the 26th and August the 4th. Right now, it doesn't seem like it's a lot compared to what their volume is, but you also have to remember where the price is at too. So say, for instance, if they did not, this 1.2 million, if they have not covered by then, they're going to have to cover at the price to where it's at, which currently right now it's at $15.50. So if it stayed at that price by the time that these are done, then of course they're going to have to pay $3 more per share for those stocks. So they're going to be in a lot of trouble. We could see some squeezing going on next week, and most definitely the first week of August. So I am excited about what's going on with AMC, and a lot of us have been waiting for a very long time, and I believe that time is coming. So looking at the cryptocurrency markets, Bitcoin, it got up to like 24,000. A lot of people thought, hey, this is it. It's going on a bull run. Of course, it's retracted then, and people were saying, well, that was due to a small short squeeze. The reason why Bitcoin was going up, and it was pulling up everything else along with it. And right now there are so many issues. Again, I'm going to keep reiterating this. Within the cryptocurrency markets, we have the miner issue. We have Celsius. We have Three Arrows Capital. It just seems like every day something else is coming out about that. And yeah, even though the fear and greed index is moving up positively, for me, I just still see a whole lot of issues. There's still a lot of number of different issues that still could bring Bitcoin down. I'm not going to go over each one of them, but we've discussed them over time. And of course, the issue of who created Bitcoin, that's coming back up again. It's going around in the circles on Twitter and stuff like that, and about whether it's the SEC's responsibility to make sure that investors are aware of who are behind projects. And so if the SEC does know, then they should be revealing who created Bitcoin. And actually that kind of goes for a lot of other projects too as well. I mean, like when it comes to like Shiba Inu and all that, at some point, for me, the mystery of who's behind it and all that stuff, that's kind of wore off. There is a lot of uncertainty, in my opinion, and then we had the creator who actually just disappeared, which he did say that he was going to do that, but at this stage in the game, it kind of brought even more uncertainty. And so I think as investors, this whole thing with knowing who's behind these projects, I think that is very important, that we do find out who is behind some of these projects. And so, like I said, folks, next week when it comes to the cryptocurrencies, right, everything that you're invested in, all the cryptos that you're looking at, I'm looking for major dips to happen next week. And one of the things I do want to bring up, again, is self-custody, learning how to use a hard wallet. And there is a lot of exchanges, especially in the Asian markets, that have shut off withdrawals. One of them shut off withdrawals and then a couple days later reinstated the withdrawals. We got to be very careful with that going into the future. And really, technically, I don't know where we are at with this whole thing with the wealth transfer. We've identified certain points, how many times that Bitcoin is supposed to drop to zero, other prophetic words dealing with world events. And so that's the other reason why we take it day by day. But I don't know where we are at. And as far as, are we going to go all the way up to 70,000, then come back down to zero again? Or have we already seen it since it got close to that? So all of that remains to be seen. And so during these time periods, some of these exchanges are not going to survive. So it's going to be best that you have the ability to take off your coins off exchange. Now, there are certain coins that it doesn't cost hardly anything to do that. If you take some coins some coins might take 25% of your investment just to transfer it to a hard wallet. That's why there are some cryptocurrencies I'm just not transferring to a hard wallet because it's just not worth it. And if I buy $50 of a crypto and I just put it in there, it's for the long run, and I'm just going to let it fly. It's at 80555 or something like that. I'm not worried about that when putting it onto a hard wallet right now. But if I'm into XRP, XLM, Cardano, Litecoin, Ethereum, or let's just say we do have the Bitcoin flash crash, and you're going to take some of your Bitcoin and you're going to put it off and you're going to take it and put it onto a hard wallet. I've already decided that depending on how things go, I know at least 10% I just want to hold back to put on a hard wallet, and that's pretty much it. Everything else I'll be selling off, putting it into other cryptocurrencies, etc., etc. Everybody was talking about Tesla dumping 75% of its Bitcoin holdings after touting long-term potential, but I thought he was talking about Dogecoin. I didn't really think necessarily he was talking about Bitcoin. And, it is a billion-dollar company, and if they see, obviously he saw something maybe other people are not seeing. And so he's getting a lot of heat. And he doesn't have a lot of influence anymore as far as, him tweeting out about cryptocurrency or whatever, or, swaying the markets, right? I think pretty much most of that effect has worn off. And so many of you would have probably made the same decision, especially if you think that it's going to go lower. If you bought Bitcoin at 38,000 and you see where it's at now at 23,000, and you know that there's a strong possibility that it's going to go down to 10,000. Maybe he knows something that many other people don't know. Maybe he could have got a wind of something that's coming, and so he put himself into position to take advantage of that. And most of you would too. A lot of people put their faith into one particular person. I remember when the whole thing with Doge, and every time he would tweet, he would pump it up until he got on Saturday Night Live. And then it just crashed Dogecoin because it was almost like a setup, right? And he should have never went on the show to begin with. And a lot of people lost a lot of money. People were investing in at 50 and 60 and 70 cents thinking it was going to go to $1, and it just crashed. The other thing I do want to bring up really quick is about the whole thing with cash. And if you saw what is happening in China, they actually rolled out tanks to prevent people from withdrawing money from crisis-hit banks. And I think it's very important on which banks that you do bank with, no matter where you are at in the world. This is not just about here in the United States. This is a worldwide thing. And I've been sharing that people need to be prepared if, say, for instance, people can't use their debit cards or their credit cards, or if people make runs on the ATMs at banks and stuff like that. You guys need to already be in position to where you don't have to necessarily worry about that so much, right? So one of the things that, especially once this wealth transfer, everything starts rolling through, we know that we're going to be preparing financially in a way to make sure that we have enough food, water, shelter, whether or not if we have to move. A lot of people are going to be paying off bills, getting things in order before things get really bad here. I don't know how bad it's going to get, but through the prophetic, it would seem like it's going to be really rough in a lot of areas. So this right here, if this is happening in the second largest economy in the world, right? And this is not to say like Sri Lanka. Remember, they're having problems. Now they're rationing gas. And then you have Ecuador. You have several other countries in Africa that are falling apart. And so people need to be ready, prepare themselves no matter where they live. I believe that United States is just one of the last dominoes to fall before most of these other countries fall. And when the United States does fall, any countries that haven't fallen yet, they may fall after the United States. And I'm talking about economically, where everything is just in chaos. We're still expecting when things seem at their worst. Ukraine devalues currency by 25%. And I'm like, okay, their currency should be almost worthless. They're in the middle of a war, right? And their country's being taken over. And the central bankers, they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to devalue our currency by 25%. I would have thought that it would have already did that on its own. When you look around where the war started, it did drop just a tiny bit, and it's pretty much remained steady. And for them to devalue it another 25%, I mean, you would think that a country that is under attack in the amount of damage that Russia has done, that their currency would not be worth as much, but it is what it is. So folks, again, going into next week, I am looking for opportunities for the cryptocurrency markets to dip. Like I'm looking, just as an example, I'm looking for XLM to be like maybe around 9 cents. And I'm still expecting at some point, folks, some type of Bitcoin flash crash. That all remains to be seen. And we have many different prophetic words concerning that. We have many warnings and reminders from more than one person. It's actually multiple people, right? And not just two. We're talking about like 3, 4, 5. That this event is coming. I just don't know when or what's going to trigger it. There are many triggers to this event. I think I identified at least maybe 7 or 8 different things that, whether we've discussed it or in the media or so forth, about what could actually crash Bitcoin. Some of those things can happen at any moment. All right, folks, so that is all that I have for today. So we just look out for next week, look out for opportunities, and we just go from there, and we just take this day by day, folks. So anyways, folks, I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.